The reason you're called here today is because the grand jury just issued an indictment earlier today. And today a Kansas City police sergeant was indicted for assault in the third degree, which is a felony, a Class E felony. Sergeant Matt Neal was indicted for causing injury to the victim, in this case, a juvenile. I'm not going to name the juvenile for obvious reasons, but the injuries that occurred to our juvenile was by kneeling on him on the back of his head and neck, forcing the victim's head into the pavement. The victim can be heard saying, "I can't breathe." Those, I realize, are now pretty infamous words, but in fact those were his words back in November of 2019 when this occurred. The victim's injuries included broken teeth and a gash on his forehead, and the incident occurred on November the 14th, 2019 in the parking lot of Go Chicken Go, and that is near the UMKC campus at 51st and Troost right here in Kansas City, Missouri. Now there is an affidavit that's been signed by the grand jury foreperson and states that the jurors reviewed evidence in this case on multiple occasions. That started on or about June the 12th is when they began to hear testimony on this particular case. And this incident on November the 14th of last year began at about 10:40 p.m. when a Kansas City police officer became suspicious of the victim and another young male in this case who were entering the 7-Eleven near 89th and Warnell. They attempted to stop them, but the driver in that case drove away from the location. The driver in this case fled until the vehicle was stopped in the parking lot of the Go Chicken Go. The driver and the passenger is the juvenile victim in this case, and I will remind you at that time not even old enough to drive, so was not the driver. They both exited the car from their respective doors. Officers surrounded the car, and when they approached the car, both of these two occupants of the car, the driver and the juvenile passenger, were actually already out of the car on their knees with their hands above their heads. Now, Neal was one of the first officers on the scene. He took charge of my juvenile victim and taking him into custody. The victim did not struggle. He didn't pull away. He was handcuffed and he was lying on the ground on his stomach. He did not have a weapon. And Neal, along with another officer, began to roll the victim, who continued to remain compliant. And then Neal forced his knee on the back of the head of this young man. This was described by one witness as a knee strike. This forced his face into the cement and injured him. Neal's knee and body weight then remained on the back of the victim's head, and his face was pinned to the pavement, and that's when the victim can be heard saying, "I cannot breathe," in a plea for help. Now, once he's brought to his feet, the victim's injuries were clear, and he was taken then to Children's Mercy Hospital by KCPD police officers, where he received treatment. And I wanted you just to see a little bit of these injuries. This is to the teeth. His teeth were, obviously knocked out during the process of this, or chipped pretty significantly. And he also had a gash to his forehead. And there's that gash to his forehead, which required 8 stitches when he went over to Children's Mercy Hospital.